Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome into Uncle Jimmy's podcast. Today's Mental Health Mondays. Listeners, you should still talk to your own doctor or therapist for personal treatment. Everything here is general education, not medical advice or therapy. For any serious or persistent mental health issues, you should consult a qualified professional. Today, we're diving in episode 4. You don't heal alone. Why relationships, therapy, and community matter for your mental health. This is Uncle Jimmy's podcast, and today we're talking about something a lot of strong people struggle with: the idea that you don't have to fix your mind by yourself. In episode 1, we talked about the weight you can't see. Episode 2, we talked about your body and your breath. Episode 3, we went into the stories in your head. But now we're stepping into the circle around you: your friends, your family, your partner, if you're lucky to have one, your church, your therapist, or even your group chat. Today's episode is called You Don't Heal Alone, because the biggest lie pain ever told us is that we're better off suffering in silence. Many of us were raised on the lone wolf myth. Handle it. Don't air your business. Real men don't talk about feelings. Strong women hold the family down no matter what. So we show up for everyone else. We listen to everyone else. We carry everyone else. And then we go home and fall apart in private. We confuse independence with isolation. But human beings are wired for connection. Your nervous system calms down when you feel seen, heard, and safe with another person. The right relationship can literally lower your blood pressure, slow your breathing, and make the world feel less dangerous. Healing is personal, but it is rarely solitary. What support really looks like. Support is more than people saying, "Let me know if you need anything." Real support looks like someone who listens without rushing to fix you, someone who believes you when you describe your pain, someone who checks in not just when you're fun, but when you're quiet, someone who respects your boundaries, not just their convenience. You don't need 50 people like that. Sometimes you just need one or two who show up consistently and honestly. And support, it goes both ways. The more you practice being a safe space for others, the more you recognize what it feels like when someone is a safe space for you. When family helps and when it hurts. Let's talk about family. For some of us, family is our greatest comfort. People who know our history, our culture, our little quirks. For others, family is complicated, the source of trauma, criticism, or constant drama. It's okay to admit my family gives me love, but they don't understand mental health. Or my family is not a safe place to talk about what I'm going through. You are allowed to share only what feels safe. Keep some things private. Find chosen family and friends, mentors, and community spaces. Blood is real, but so is peace. Sometimes the heaviest thing you can do is love people from a distance because that can protect your mind. Real friends are not just people you party with. Real friends are people you can be honest with. Ask yourself, who can I text I'm not okay today without feeling like a burden? Who notices when I go quiet and who checks in? Who respects my no without punishing me? If that list is short, you are not doomed. You can stop by being the kind of friend to others. Show up, listen, keep confidences, build relationships slowly through small, consistent acts of care. Healthy friendship is one of the most underrated mental health tools on earth. It doesn't replace therapy or medication, but it makes the journey less lonely. Let's talk about therapy, counseling, whatever word feels right to you. Therapy is not a place where someone tells you how to live, only for crazy or weak people. Just paying to talk to a stranger. Therapy is a structured conversation with someone trained to notice patterns in your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, a place to unpack trauma safely and gradually, a space where you don't have to protect the other person's feelings. A good therapist listens deeply, challenges you gently, offers tools, not just sympathy, respects your culture, background, and boundaries. If you've had a bad experience with one therapist, that doesn't mean therapy as a whole doesn't work. Sometimes it takes trying more than one to find a good fit. You are the one hiring them. You are allowed to say, this isn't working for me, and look for someone else. For many of us, faith is a big part of life. Church, the mosque, the temple, maybe even a meditation group. These can be powerful sources of comfort and community. Spiritual places can give meaning to suffering. They can also remind you that you're part of something bigger. It can also offer rituals that calm the mind and heart, but faith should never be used to shame you for needing mental health support. Just pray more is not a full treatment plan. You can pray and go to therapy. You can believe in God and take medication if it's prescribed. Spirituality and mental health are not enemies. They can work together when leaders and communities respect both. Love with offense. To heal, you don't just need connection, you also need boundaries. Boundaries are how you say, this is okay for me. This is not okay for me. This is how close you can come to my energy, my time, my heart. For example, I can't talk on the phone after 10 p.m. I need sleep. I'm not discussing politics with you. It always gets toxic. I love you, but I can't be your only support system. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries might call you selfish when you start setting them. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means they were used to access you can no longer afford to give. Healthy love has limits. Boundaries protect your mental health and make real connections safer, not smaller. Asking for help without apologizing. Many of us feel guilty just for needing anything. We say, sorry to bother you. It's not a big deal, but I know you're busy. Forget I said anything. But here's the truth, everyone needs help at some point. You are not special for suffering alone. Try asking more directly. Do you have a few minutes? I really need to talk to someone I trust. Or I've been struggling lately. Can we hang out or grab coffee? Or can you check on me this week? I'm going through a rough patch. If someone can't be there, that doesn't mean you were wrong to ask. It just means they have limits too. Keep reaching out to others, to professionals, to hotlines if you're in crisis. One yes can change the whole story. Family, this was episode 4. You don't heal alone. We talked about the lone wolf lie, what real support looks like, the role of family and chosen family, friendship, therapy, and faith, and the power of boundaries and asking for help. Here's what you take with you. You are not supposed to carry everything by yourself. Healing is personal. Only you can do your inner work, but it is not meant to be private to the point of isolation. Let people in who have earned that right. Let professionals in when it's too heavy for friends or family. Let faith in if that's part of your path. And let boundaries in so you can love others without losing yourself. Coming up next week on the final episode of this series, episode 5 will be Staying Strong in a Broken World. We'll talk about long term mental health, relapse moments, news, and social media, protecting your peace, and building a life that supports your mind for the long run. Until then, reach out to one person you trust this week, not just with the small talk, but with something real. This is Uncle Jimmy. I just want you all to know you don't have to heal alone. You never did. Coming up next, we have Teresa Phillips We had an unbelievable talk about mental health and what she does, some tips and tricks, and also just an unbelievable conversation. So I just want to say, I hope you all have a great Monday, a mental health Monday, and I hope you all have a great week. Peace and love. Peace and love. Uncle Jimmy out. Until next time, everybody. Thanks for joining. Teresa Phillips up next. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Uncle Jimmy's podcast. First, we want to give a big shout out to the show's sponsor, Ferg's Custom Cards. What Ferg does is he builds custom cards. If you can think of it, Ferg can create it. So today, I want to welcome everyone to the show. Today, I'm honored to sit down with someone whose story is truly powerful, brave, and deeply human. Teresa Phillips has faced anxiety and the lingering effects of trauma, yet continues to move forward with courage and compassion. In this conversation, we'll talk about her journey, the challenges she's faced, the lessons she's learned, and how she's found ways to heal and grow. Teresa, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So can you tell us a bit about your background and what life looked like before those challenges and everything, anxiety and all that stuff popped up?
Life was all right. I mean, there were problems in the family. You know, everybody has them, but they went okay. I mean, it could have been a lot better, but it wasn't. And once I developed the anxiety, that took over really quickly.
And at what age did you develop the anxiety? Young age?
I have had anxiety since I was 12 years old.
Okay. Yeah, I suffer from anxiety myself, sometimes very crippling. Anxiety, I try to explain it to people. I don't know if you'll understand this, but you may. People ask me all the time, what does your anxiety feel like? And for me, I wake up in the morning with about 12 bricks on my chest, right? I say. And throughout the day, I'm able to take, some days I'm able to take all those bricks off and I feel unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some days I get 4 or 5, some days I don't get any. But that very next morning when I wake up, those bricks are back. If I got them all off, if I got a few off, they're all back. All 12 are back on the chest again, and we're starting the day over again. So
yeah,
it can be very, very tough at times, but I get up in the morning and I keep going, and you did say it in the beginning, if someone tells you that they have a perfect family, you can tell them that they're lying. There's no such thing as a perfect family.
Exactly. There is no perfect family.
No, but there is no love like a family,
That's true.
Whether you talk to your siblings, your mom and dad may not be here. My mom and dad are gone, but I have my aunt and uncle who I'm truly grateful for. My Uncle Joe, my Aunt Maggie, who have been my saving grace throughout, most of my adult lifehood. I appreciate them and I love them to the moon and back. So when did you first realize you were struggling with anxiety?
Well, I'd been sensitive from an early age. I don't know really how to explain this, but I feel like I was walking on eggshells from the time I was 3 or 4, and I was finally diagnosed with some form of anxiety at 12, and it didn't really get super, super bad till I was in my 30s.
Okay. So what was your life like growing up? As you're 12, you got some anxiety. How's things going in school? Everything okay?
No.
No.
I mean, I had problems in school. My parents had just divorced, and mom was trying to take care of us kids the best way she knew how with no support. And we had moved from one state to another. And it was just like, we moved in with family, but that didn't actually help anything. It just seemed to make it worse because there's constant chaos all the time.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
It does. And, they had put me on medication at one point for it. Didn't exactly work.
Yeah, sometimes I find, sometimes with anxiety meds, it can sometimes have the adverse where it makes it even worse.
Right. That's very true. That's what it did with me. They either didn't do anything or did the exact opposite of what I was told it would do. And they had me on the mildest stuff available at that time.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult because biologics takes at least 6 weeks to get into your system.
Yeah, and to start seeing the benefits, and exactly. And especially in the beginning where they're trying out, we're almost guinea pigs where they're trying this and trying that. This isn't working, that's not working, And I find that for me, with my anxiety, it's either something that puts me into a trance-like state, which who can live like that, or it's just something that doesn't work or has the adverse, effects. So it's tough. So you move in with family, the anxiety's still there. And then you said it gets really bad in your 30s. What brings that out?
I had been stuffing emotions in for years. I was married for a couple months. Marriage was not good. I was married in December 1997. We separated in 1998. The person in question was abusive. He wanted all the privileges of marriage without any of the responsibilities. He was also cheating on me and had a sexually transmitted disease. I stuffed all that in, and the only way I knew something was wrong is we had gone up to a lighthouse to go explore. I started breathing really hard. I mean, it was just like I was fixing to be drowned or crushed. And, he finally took me to the hospital and he told me, he said, I don't want to be with a crazy wife. That wears on you. But I mean, thank God I have forgiven him. I let it all go. It took 20 years after that, but I
Yeah.
was able to do it. And forgiveness is a big part of this. And it's not one thing I want to point out is forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for you.
For you, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I say that oftentimes. You have to look in the mirror at yourself and forgive yourself, and then you can forgive others from there. And that's when the true healing starts. The true healing begins when you can, forgive yourself because, think about it. You're 20 something years old and you're having a panic anxiety attack, and here's your husband saying, "I don't want to be married to a crazy person," and it's not
That was in my 30s. That was
in
in
your
my
30s, in your 30s,
30s.
and that's not, that's you're not crazy. You're a human. You're going through the emotions, and people do suffer panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I've had a few where I've ended up in the hospital myself from panic and anxiety attacks. It doesn't make you crazy, it just
No,
makes you human. There's so much that goes on in the human mind. And you're probably very much like me. You overthink,
I do.
you overthink a lot of things and things that we can't change oftentimes. So he brings you to the hospital, you go through all that. So when do you guys finally, separate and go your separate ways?
That was we were married in December. The marriage ended actually in March. What had happened is a cousin of mine had died. I had gotten a sixth sense warning that something was coming up, and I had seen two caskets. I knew who the first one was. I didn't know who the second was, and I called my mother that morning. I said, beware, something's can happen. I said, I've seen two caskets. The first one is Uncle Billy's. I don't know who the second one is. Sure enough, less than 24 hours later, I was called and we were having a lot of problems. My mother sent a couple of cousins up here to pick me up and bring me back down. And she knew something was wrong then. I wouldn't tell her anything.
Yeah.
Mamas know, so do dads. Mamas and dads both know, and I don't have either of my parents now.
Yeah. Either. And it's sometimes often tough to, I lost my dad first. He 16 years ago. And, I was able to, somewhat get over that. Not really get over it, but, realize he's not there to answer the phone or a text or to be the saving grace when you need him. But then mom was there. And when you lose both, you almost lose that sense of protection of like, well who's
You
going to
do.
protect me now? Um, and I'm sorry for your loss. It's tough. So, how did your past experiences or trauma start to show up in your daily life?
I would get to where I could not go outside. I had to be isolated. I mean, I would shake physically like I was going through a drug withdrawal. And unfortunately, when I came in to get treatment for a panic attack, this was before I was diagnosed the second time. I was accused of being a drug addict and just there just for drugs. And the nurse got fired on the spot for that. And I'm like, if you don't have blood work proving that I'm a drug addict, why are you saying that? And
Yeah,
that's something that health professionals really need to be careful about because not everybody that's shaking from head to foot is going to be a drug addict. You could have somebody going through a train wreck panic attack, and it looks like somebody going through withdrawal.
yeah. Yeah, my shoulders twitch and my upper body starts twitching when I get it really bad. And that can be tough, because you're in there, you're having a panic attack full blown, and here they are calling you a drug addict.
Mhm.
And now your panic attack's going to be times 1,000 because now you're panicking even more. And
Exactly.
and like you said, the medical professionals, they're supposed to be professionals.
Right.
Like you said, run the blood work, go through it. And then if something does come up, sit down, have the conversation. So you're in the hospital, you're having the panic attack. The doctor says that to you. So what's going through your head at that moment?
It just made the panic attack 50 to 100 times worse. And then somebody else came in after the nurse was relieved of her duties. They did check me. And I didn't have any drugs in my system. And they knew what the signs of a panic attack were.
Yeah.
And I mean, they did try me again. It took 6 weeks for that to get in. It was up and down, up and down. I stayed isolated. I would not go out. I couldn't go out in crowded spaces because I would either start screaming, start hyperventilating, or just start shaking. And it's really hard. People don't understand that, okay, you don't realize the amount of emotions unless you suffer a panic attack. I mean, it's pure, unadulterated fear.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to where you feel like you're having a heart attack,
Heart attack.
fixing
Yeah.
to have a stroke. And that's panic. Anxiety will do that to you.
Yeah.
And people don't seem to understand unless they've walked in that path that, okay, I didn't realize it felt like this. You've never been through it. And
Yeah.
unless you've been through it, you're not going to know. Don't judge. Ask questions first before you start judging.
Yeah, I think we live in a society that's way too much, of judging before, even having a conversation with somebody. And that's why I love to have my space here where I have people on it, every night and I get to talk with them and we get to talk about their life and their journey. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. When I was a young kid, the first time I ever noticed I had panic attacks and anxiety attacks was I used to take the subway into Boston to get to school. And I was always late. And my dad would be like, why do you keep being late for school? And I'm like, well, I waited for the fourth train. And he goes, well, why do you wait for the fourth train? I go, because there was nobody on it. I go, the rest of them was rush hour trains with shoulder to shoulder. And I couldn't get on those trains. I couldn't,
Mm. Mhm.
I literally froze, and I couldn't move. And to me, it started getting worse and worse. And then my father died, and it felt like almost for 5 years I lived in this panic, anxiety attack world where it was, similar to you, not to the extent of I was at home,
Mhm.
isolated, but I'd go to work and I'd come home, but I always wanted to be isolated right after, I knew I had to get up, go to work, but right when I finished, it was right back to my, comforts of home, of the TV, video games, my fridge, my food, nobody else, and my
Right.
ex-wife at the time. So like you said, for people that don't understand that, what's one thing you would like to say to them for someone that doesn't understand panic and anxiety attacks?
One thing, first of all, be thankful you don't deal with them because your world will be turned upside down, inside out. Before you judge somebody, ask, hey, what's going on? What's happening with you? Don't just judge. Don't just assume because 99% of the time your assumptions are going to be dead wrong.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna help anybody either, especially somebody going through a full blown train wreck panic attack.
Yeah, and as I like to say, when you make assumptions, you make an ass out of me and you, you know? You know?
That's
So,
true.
y
That's very true.
and one of the biggest things, I don't know if you're like me, but when I'm going through the anxiety and panic attacks, the worst thing, right? And I know everybody's trying to be helpful and they're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" The more people that ask me if I'm okay, I swear it's like a
Right.
needle. It goes up more and
It
more and
goes up
more
and up
and
and
more.
up.
Until I disappear, and then I'll be on my own and I will be like, okay, now I can breathe,
Mhm.
you know. And it's not that I'm trying to avoid anybody or, it's just I like to say center myself, catch my breath,
Mhm.
center myself and let it pass, because I had meds for the longest time that I would have to take if I felt it coming on. And I didn't take them because once they came on, the meds don't work anyways
Right.
after I'm in a full
Right.
blown attack.
Right.
So it's tough. So for the people out there, how did you begin your healing journey? And what did that first step look like for you?
Well, the first step for me became self-acceptance, actually, going, "Okay." It's hard to explain, it's just pure self-acceptance. "Okay, I'm not damaged. I'm not trouble. I'm going through stuff because I didn't know how to let go of it, how to release it,
How to process it?
because
Yeah.
if you stuff stuff in, sooner or later, your body's just gonna go boom and it's gonna come out. I had to learn this the hard way after about 40.
Yeah. So I take it you were very much like me, right? So how long were you stuffing it down for? How long would you say? 20, 30 years stuffing it down? 20 years?
At least 40. I mean,
At
because
least
I
four.
was stuffing stuff down by the time of age 5 or, 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you just can't do it. You just can't do it because your body is gonna stop you. You're gonna develop all this stuff, and you're gonna think you're going crazy. You're not. You need to be able to learn how to, number 1, forgive yourself, number 2, accept yourself, and number 3, realize that all that crap that you're carrying around needs to be let go of and has to be done one thing at a time because if you try try things after things after things after things, then that's just going to collapse the system in on you.
Yeah.
That has been my experience anyway.
No, same as me. Like I think, when my father got sick and I didn't process it and I pushed it down. I often tell people it's like when the trash bin's full, right? And it's cold out, you don't want to take the trash out, so you take the last piece, the trash that you have and you push it down, right? And that's your emotion, that's your feelings,
Yep,
and you're
that's
pushing them down, right? So
right.
for me, mine came this year. Mine came in early November where I realized that pushing shit down has only gotten me worse, has only gotten me hurt, has only gotten me fearful of the day, has only gotten
Right.
me until I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, no more, I'm not pushing it down. And I had seen therapists and I had seen doctors
Mhm.
probably like you. And you would go, I can't speak for you, but for me, I would go and I would feel great after a session for about 30 minutes, for a half an
Right,
hour.
right.
Yeah, I'm great, right? Until I got home, and then I'd be like, "Fuck, I'm not good anymore," you know?
Yeah,
You know? In so you pushed it down, right? So that very first day, you stop pushing down and you say to yourself, "I'm not pushing it down anymore. I'm gonna release it." How did you feel?
scared, like, "Okay, I can't do this," but yet in my heart, I knew, "Yes, I can. I've got to take that first courageous step and release this. Because if I don't, this is just gonna be a lifetime. You've already dealt with this for a lifetime. Why do you wanna keep dealing with it? Let it out, because there's so many things that I didn't process during my life up until I'd say about 4 years ago after my father died. I started processing things. I had to. I didn't have any choice. I wanna wind up, back in a hospital, you know, confined against my will. I didn't want that,
Yeah.
and
So
it
what
took
were
one.
some of the things you had to process? If you can share, and if you don't feel like it, you don't have to.
That's fine. Deaths of family members, some of them were there very traumatic. The problems going on with mom and dad. I was dating the wrong kind of people. I was dating a lot of abusers, and that ended with my ex-husband because I refused to go back to that again. And it's like I didn't have the courage to stand up for myself. If I'd had that courage, I doubt half of this would have happened, but I didn't have the self-confidence and courage. And
Yeah.
until I got that, I couldn't I'd make half steps and then, go 30 steps back.
Same here. Yeah, yeah.
It takes a lot of courage in yourself. It takes a lot of self-confidence in yourself, and you have to learn to rebuild that self-confidence one baby step at a time.
At a time, yeah. Yeah, and for people that don't suffer from panic attacks and anxiety attacks, I can tell you one thing. You can wake up in the morning, and if you suffer a panic and anxiety attack, when I tell you, you feel like you've been zapped, your energy, right?
Mhm.
When I get a
Yes.
full-blown panic attack, I'm telling you, it could take me a week. It could take me 10 days to recover. It feels like every ounce of energy that I have or that I have for the next couple days is gone.
Exactly.
And there were times where how I dealt with it, I'd stay in bed for a
I've
couple
done the
days.
same thing. I've done the same thing previous to this. I've done the same thing.
Yeah. Until I got to the point where I said, I'm not living, I'm not living my life, and it's time to stop pushing it down, look in the mirror and forgive myself and start there. It's tough. It's tough. But mental health, we were having the discussion before. I tell people all the time, mental health is one of the things that everybody I think should, focus on. In if you're in a crisis or an emergency, you can always call 988. You can call, you can text. There's always somebody there that operates those lines. So you're never alone. And there are some people that I've talked to that have been on the podcast that said, I didn't feel comfortable talking to a family member or a friend, or I had no one I felt comfortable talking to. Well, these people at 988 that you can call, it's all anonymous. It's all anonymous. And you give them a call. And I'm telling you, I've used it myself. I've been in the throes of down and out, and I've called, and believe me, those people are lifesavers. Those people are
Yeah.
absolute, lifesavers. So were there people, places, or moments that gave you strength along your healing journey?
There was. My mother was very close to me. She and what is surviving of my family, they helped me through the secondary. I mean, it was tough on them to watch me go through that. But I was blessed to have support. And my adopted sister, she's been around me since for 20 years, and we've lived together, and she still helps me. I
Wow,
mean,
that's awesome.
I don't have the panic attacks nearly as much as I did, but it took that courage. And there's still not to say that I can't suffer another one, because I can.
Yeah.
All it takes is just a trigger. And that's, learning to manage your triggers is also extremely helpful, but you've got to find out what those triggers actually are. And a lot of times when you're first starting out, you can't because you've got this. I mean, it's just like a landslide.
Yeah, I had one today. Today was my first one in a bit, but I was going to a new therapist. So I was overthinking everything of, a new therapist. And now, for people that have never been to therapy, you start and, you sort of rehash the old wounds and some that are closed, but you still bring it up. And so that was my whole thing today of, I was able to catch it. It was short. It was about 3 or 4 minutes. God bless you.
Thank you.
It was about 3 or 4 minutes, the panic attack was, but it was great to be able to, like you said, you notice the triggers, you notice it coming on. Where before, I think we're unaware of how to handle it or how to deal with it, where it gets full blown. And for people that have ever been in a full blown panic attack, or people that have never been in one, I can tell you that you feel like death is coming at any second. You,
Exactly. And I've had multiple train wrecks.
and people will tell you, "You okay? Get over it." It's not something you're okay, and something you sure as hell can't get over with because, believe
No,
me, it hurts.
the thing of it is, there's not a lot of enough understanding, especially with a train wreck. You can't just get over something like that. There's no way possible. You've got to go through it to get through it.
Yeah.
And people that have never been through one don't understand that. And that's still, even today, I've run into people, well, just get over it. That's a little impossible when your emotions and everything are going. I mean, you don't even know whether you're going to draw your next breath or not.
Yeah.
Telling somebody to get over that is very insensitive, very selfish, and very derogatory, to put it mildly.
Yeah, and I think it's just because a lot of people are uneducated when it comes to stuff like this.
They are.
So, I tell people all the time, get educated on panic and anxiety attacks. And, you can also, I have a friend of mine, Tina, that I grew up with my whole life, who oftentimes when I'm going through one, I can always call her. And when I can tell you right now, she's better than any medication I've ever taken. It's almost like once she answers the phone, it's gone and I'm okay again.
Yeah.
And there are certain people that you do have, in your life that can be that calming sense, that calming presence that calm you down. So just to recap, everybody, we got Teresa Phillips on. She suffered from panic attacks and anxiety attacks from a very young age. And now we're in of talking to her about her healing journey and her coming through and being able to manage her panic attacks nowadays and anxiety attacks. So how do you manage anxiety now on a day-to-day basis?
One thing I do is I do exercise. I do like yoga or Tai Chi, to keep myself active. Don't sit sedentary, keep active. I also meditate. I've been in meditation for about 4 years now, and it works for me. I also try to focus on everything that makes me happy, not on what could possibly trigger me. And that can be extremely difficult to do. Like with me, it's playing my drums, it's singing, it's doing, writing little vignettes. I try my best to focus on everything that's going wrong because I know if I start focusing and everything goes wrong, then it's gonna come. Here comes a snowball.
Yep. Yep. And once that snowball starts going down that hill,
Hang it up.
yeah, because you're gonna be you're gonna be reaching for the medication, or you're gonna be, reaching for the phone to go to the hospital because it's gonna come. So have you had any specific coping techniques or therapies that helped you most?
Actually, meditation is one of the things that does help me. Also, I've been taught different types of breathing techniques, like a calm breath, a fire breath. They do help going outside, getting out in nature, walking barefoot. I've done that as well, and it does help. I mean, it grounds me. It may not help everybody, but I know for me, it works. And I also, if I start feeling something, I'll just, stop, write it down, and go, okay, do I meditate? What can I do to keep myself balanced? And
Yeah.
that's always a delicate balancing act because you never know, and learning to deal with the triggers and undoing those triggers. And sometimes that's extremely difficult to do, and it can take years. It took years for me to get rid of some of mine. It
Yeah.
took years because I didn't know how to.
Yeah. You weren't given let's say, for instance, you weren't given a book to say this is how you get through it or this is how it's done. And for panic attacks and anxiety attacks, for everybody, the way we deal with it may be good for me, but not good for you, Teresa. It may work
Right.
for me, but not for you. So for people that are going through it, you have to find what works for you. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I've found one of the biggest things for me recently is focusing on I used to always focus on things that I couldn't control, you know?
Mm,
Always, you know?
done the same thing. Done the same.
Past relationships or past friendships or shit, I should have done this the other day. So now what's in the rearview mirror in my life is in the rearview mirror. I'm not looking back and I'm looking forward. And things that I can't control are out of my mind. And I refuse to let them in and rent space like they used to. So that's one of the biggest things for me. So, what myths or misunderstandings about trauma and healing would you like to challenge?
There's a lot of them. You don't really know what somebody else is going through. I mean, they could be going through trauma too, but it's completely different. The thing of it is, we all have trauma. Regardless, there's no human being on this planet that has not had trauma. And your trauma does not define you. I will challenge that in a New York second because trauma does not define you. It's what you've been through. Healing is going to help. It's going to be hard sometimes. You're going to want to give up. Don't, because every little baby step you take just builds that healing that much bigger. And another thing, don't be so stupid as to tell somebody to get over something, especially if you have not been through it yourself. Jeez. I'm like you. Educate yourself for heaven's sake. Don't be
Exactly.
an asshole because you're
Exactly.
not helping the other person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Like even, my friends growing up would always be like, just get over it, just get over it. And it's like, just get the hell away from me. That's what I'd say,
Exactly.
you know?
And I've told people that. I have had to tell people that, "Get the hell away from me because I don't need your negativity. What I based my life on is positivity. That's something else, trying to keep yourself as positive as possible. Not
Yeah.
gonna be able to do it all the time, but keeping that positive attitude going, "Okay, what can I do that might be different, that might be helpful than the last time this happened?" Because not everything is gonna help at exactly the same time exactly as you have it. It's gonna take different things at different times. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Just a matter of finding out for yourself what works.
Yeah, and exactly like you said, finding out for yourself what works. So, how has sharing your story impacted your healing process?
It's helped it a lot because I realize that there are a lot of others who've gone through trauma. Some of us will not admit it, I get it, but every single human being has gone through on this planet at this time has gone through some form, shape, and form of trauma. Some of it can be generational, some of it can come down the family line, other things can, if you're a sensitive a human being,
Right.
that can, I mean, you can get piled on really quick.
Yeah.
But thing of it is, you can heal. In the beginning, I didn't think I would ever heal from any of this. Now, I've healed from the panic attacks. I still may have them on occasion, but my life is more positive and more focused because I started learning different techniques. And I'm like, okay, keep myself focused on the positive because you focus on the negative, you're going to get negative, and that just snowballs backwards right back into the mist you just got yourself out of.
Yeah, it's like negative, negative energy in, negative energy out, negative energy back in. But as I like to say, you put positive energy out, positive energy comes back. Surround
Exactly.
yourself with positive people, surround yourself with positive reading materials. It can be tough. We live in a world that's very right now that
Cruel.
it feels like the whole world's in turmoil, and every time you turn on the news or you turn on a story, I say it all the time. When's the last time you turned on the news and heard a good story? A great story about the neighborhood or a great story about the country? You don't. Everything's negative. Everything's negative,
Right.
negative, negative. So, what role has self compassion or forgiveness played in your recovery?
Good Lord, that has been one of the biggest things that has helped me. I've had to forgive myself for holding on to stuff for 40 plus years that I could have, if I'd known how to, let go of it. I mean, and self-compassion. Okay, like if I had a bad point today, but I'm like, look, it's okay. You're going to get through this. You've gotten through it before. And one thing I wanted to say, you mentioned the news. I make it a habit not to watch the news. I view very little of that because a lot of it is so negative. You don't realize how much that you're bringing in by reading that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've just got to the point where I cut out the news. I'm very careful about what I'll go on as far as social media. I've got some good friends that are positive. I just follow them. I've gotten to where I've weeded all my IG and Facebook out because that can also be a source of negativity. You don't realize that you start scrolling to try to stop the storm that's coming, And all you do is just bring more in because a lot of the stuff is negative on there. And even if you just scroll for a few seconds, you're still picking up on it.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn to weed a lot of that stuff out in order to keep myself sane and
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things. I was just away for a couple days, and I left New Year's Eve, came back Saturday. So I left Wednesday night, came back Saturday. I wasn't on social media at all,
and
at all. Just to live in the moment, to be present is one of the biggest things, that I'm learning. So, got a couple more questions for you. So, how do you define healing today? Has that definition changed over time?
it has. I mean, healing, I originally thought was going to doctors, dealing with all that, the medicine and stuff, but I've gotten to a point where I don't have to take any medicine. I haven't taken medicine for about 10 years or more.
Wow.
So I've been blessed in that. Not everybody's going to be able to get to that point, but healing to me looks like being a better version of myself, understanding that, yeah, I'm going to have bad days, but don't let them overrule you. I mean, change your focus, do something, talk to somebody that's positive, because healing means a lot different. I mean, I'm still in the healing journey, especially with the trauma. That's going to be lifelong. That's going to be lifelong, but I'm at a point where I'm stable. I'm happy for the first time in 4 to 5 years now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and here's the thing about it. Don't put yourself to the point to where you're trying to follow everybody else's expectations for you. That's just not working. I follow my own expectations. I need to make sure that I approve of myself. I love myself. Live the life that I want to live without anybody else's expectations. Because you live your life doing other people's expectations, especially if you're having trauma or a panic attack, it's not going to work either. I mean, that's just a disaster waiting to happen with a capital D.
Yeah, you got to live life on, your terms, on what you want to do, not, by what the Joneses have down the street or what this one
Right.
had. Everyone's trying to keep up with everybody. For me, it's more of I'm just trying to live my life. If I want to pick up and go away today, I do. If I want to go to get a sandwich down the street, I do. I don't care what this one says or that one says. I for the longest time would take everything to heart of what everyone would say.
Mhm.
I was often the empath of, I thought for the longest time that I looked at the world very different, that everybody has good in them, that everybody has inherent good in them.
Mhm.
And over the last couple months, I've realized that that's not the truth. There are evil people out there. There are bad people out there, and there are negative people out there, but there are also great people out there, positive people out there. So I've started now to surround myself with those positive people, those positive thoughts, and stay away from the negativity, because I oftentimes thought I could never heal. I could never get on a
Mhm.
healing journey. I can't heal from this or that. But here I am, living proof. Here you are, Teresa, living proof that. And I love what you said about the healing journey. And people need to realize that healing's not going to happen overnight. Healing's not going to happen in a
Mhm.
day, in a week. And mostly you're going to be healing throughout your whole life. You know,
Right.
when you look yourself in the mirror and you realize that, it's sort of a weight that comes off your shoulders, and you realize that, hey, I'm going to live my life regardless of what people are saying, regardless of what this one's saying. I'm going to do what I want because I'm living my life for me.
Exactly.
So, a couple more questions before we end. What advice would you give to someone who's just beginning to confront their own trauma?
Be patient and compassionate with yourself first and foremost. I mean, there's so many books and things that are out there that can help you walk through trauma. But the first thing you've got to be self compassionate with yourself and understand, hey, a lot of things that happened to you really were not your fault. So don't go there. And I did go there for years. Like, I blame myself for every single thing that went wrong. Thing of it is, a lot of times when you go through trauma, it's not your fault. It is your responsibility to heal it as you get older, but have a lot of self compassion with yourself. Talk to people that you love and trust and that are positive and that have, if you can, have walked this path, because that's been a help for me too.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things you said there is for me, confronting my trauma and starting my healing journey. For so long, I blamed everybody else, until I took stock in what I've been through. When I played my part in some situations and others did as well. But when you realize the part that you've played, and you forgive yourself, when you look yourself in the mirror and you forgive yourself, that's when the healing journey can truly begin, and then you start to forgive others that have hurt you, others that have harmed you, and then you get to the end and you say to yourself, wow, I feel great. I feel great today. I'm not I'm not worrying about who's judging me. I'm not worrying about who's talking about me. I'm living my life for me. So, two more questions. How has your experience shaped your perspective on mental health in general?
It's changed it a lot, because as you well know, people that don't have the anxiety attacks or don't have other issues like PSTD, they don't understand what goes on inside of a body. Now that I've been through it, it's like, look, be more compassionate with yourself, with others. Reach out if you can to others that have been through this. If not, as you said, about the 988 number. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. I
No.
mean, we need to take care of our mental health. If we don't, it's like taking care of our physical health. If you don't take care of both, you're going to be in a very sad state of affairs.
Yeah. Yeah, and that 988 again, you can text, you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 988. It's been a lifesaver for me. I've used it plenty of times, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Not ashamed to say it. And I live in Boston. We're here in Boston where we have the finest hospitals, finest doctors. Still, 988. So, last question. What gives you hope when things still feel difficult or uncertain?
Just knowing that tomorrow's going to be a better day, regardless, and I've gotten through everything that I thought that I could not get through. I've survived it. I've actually lived, grown, and thrived because of it. That helps me because, okay, the bad stuff that I had this morning, I'm like, okay, you've gone through this before. You know you can survive it. I gave myself compassion, grace, like, look, this is going to happen. Sometimes it doesn't do any good to go back to the old way of thinking. Let's switch back to the more positive way of thinking. And it does work for me. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. So for me, one of the biggest things is that sometimes feels difficult is staying focused on the positive, staying focused on being alive, being present, because I often find myself sometimes wanting to crawl back into that hole and crawl back into isolation, obscurity and be alone, and just live my life, not worrying about work or worrying about anything really, about just headed to bed and sleeping for me, So, any closing thoughts? Anything you would want to tell anybody that's dealing with trauma, mental health, or that are starting their journey today of healing?
You're not alone. First and foremost, you are not alone. There are more people than you realize going through it, even if they won't admit it. But you are not alone. Understand that you will be able to get through it. It may take time. It's going to take a lot of patience and a lot of self compassion, but you can do it. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give in to those negative feelings. It becomes like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
And then once you have a train wreck, I mean, you're like, "How the what the?" You
What
fell
just
back
hit?
into that, and that's the hardest thing to keep up is keep a positive attitude. I mean, it's scary as God only knows what going through a train wreck, not being able to really talk and somebody outside of you not being able to understand what's going on,
Yeah.
and judging you. I'm like, don't judge yourself. For
Yeah.
God's sake, give yourself some grace and compassion because you're going to find that that's going to help you along.
No, Teresa, thank you for your openness, strength, and willingness to share such a personal story. Conversations like this remind us that healing isn't linear, it's a process that takes time, courage, and community. Your journey will inspire many listeners who are facing their own struggles. To everyone tuning in, remember that if you're dealing with anxiety, depression, or trauma, you're not alone, and help is always available. As we said before while we were talking, you can always reach out. You can call 988. Text 988. So, Teresa, thank you for joining us.
You're
Thank you
very
for
well.
listening. And for everyone, thank you for listening. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. And Teresa, thank you so much. And I
Very
hope
welcome.
that the new year is great to you, not just for your mental health, but your physical health, for you and your loved ones.
The same goes to you, Jimmy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your story. I appreciate it. Peace and love. Peace and love. Uncle Jimmy out.